Okay, welcome back to Astro Auto Repairs. If we can't repair it, nobody can. We're back on the Isuzu Rodeo. Everything's coming out really good on this engine. I am very liking this job. Let's go to our next steps. The next steps we're going to do, if you're following along, you're building your engine. This is a good series of videos, very entailed. Let's go. Next, we're going to install the AC compressor, and we're going to install the starter. Now, a lot of times the starter is mounted to the bell housing. Not on this engine, which I like a lot, because what we can do is install the starter with the wiring harness, and everything's going to be complete when we set this engine back in. So let's get that together. Let's get the AC compressor and get that mounted on. Now, before we continue on, in case you're doing this engine and you notice there's a lot of wires here. So what I did was before I even got into the wiring, I set it up so you can take a look at, just in case you have a problem with your wiring, putting it back. You notice the connectors, there's an open connector here that goes to the body of the car. This one goes over to the side, to the power distribution box, and the positive side of the battery. Leave that hanging to the side. Special note, you notice, just in case, I got the computer still connected and I got it wrapped up in plastic. Also, we have a cover that we wrap this up for overnight. Right? Another important note, big harness from the top rear of the block. Wrong wiring harness. This harness goes down to the transmission, the O2 sensors. So you just leave that hanging to the side. Then you got the wiring harness here for the coils, injectors, ground, both sides. I know it sounds confusing, maybe look confusing, but you might want to pause the video at some time if you got a little confusion about putting yours back together. You know how it looks. All right, back to this. We pretty much got everything set up. Here's the front of the engine. What we're going to do now is install the crankshaft sprocket. Now, this is an interference engine, so it's crucial that you put this timing belt on the exact marks. Now, setting up the heads and all, what we're going to do, we're going to bring this to number 1, and there's a little up top dead center. There's a little mark over here we're going to indicate, that's indicated on the crank sprocket and on the pump. But we're not going to set it up there. We're going to set it up there like maybe 45 to 90 degrees before top dead center. And this way, all the pistons are inset. They're not at the top of the head, top of the block. So this way, in case we happen to mess up putting this the heads on and installing the cams, setting up the timing, which we'll be doing later, we won't hit no pistons. That is very important. So let's get that sprocket installed. Get this thing going. Before we install the crank pulley, what I want to do is, I notice I see that seal's the original one. Let's pop that seal out and get up the new one. Over a $10 seal, you do not want to have to pull this whole thing apart just to change this. Let's get yourself a new one. Let's get that new one in there. Okay, what I have here, I have some adapters that's going to help with the installation of this, because to try to take a hammer and hit around it, you're going to bend the seal, you're going to make it useless. So first, let's get a little grease on this. You know, don't be afraid to use grease. There we go, perfect. Now let's get some WD-40, spray it around here, some more grease, and get that crankshaft pulley installed. On the crankshaft, there's a keyway. Make sure the keyways line up. Now you want to tap this on, not metal on metal. Take a piece of wood, place it up there, and tap it in. The next thing we're going to install is a timing belt tensioner. Here's the wheel right here. This is part of the tensioner. And there's a little plunger in here. And it's spring loaded. Also operates, some of them operate by oil pressure. And what we have to do is we have to put this in a vise, squeeze this down, and there's a little pinhole there. We got a little, stick a little pin in there to keep that thing compressed, so when we install the belt. Again, it's very important that when you disassemble a job, try to put the bolts back where they belong. So when you go to put it back, you're not looking for no bucket of bolts or something like that, you know. It's so much cleaner, makes the job so much easier to do. So let's get this pressed in and get it installed. Okay, here we got it. The plunger's pressed down, we got a pin in there. Now, a little bit of advice to some of you, because some of you don't have a press or a vise to plunge this down. So what you can do is what I used to do back in the day. Get your floor jack, get something high, put this on the floor jack, and as you jack it up, it'll push that plunger in, and I got a piece of metal stick right in there. Now you notice I'm using an air gun. If you're going to use an air gun on aluminum, do not set your settings on high. Set it on medium or low, because it's very easy to strip aluminum out. Now once we install the belt, after the heads are on, that's all we do. Take some vice grips or something and we'll pull this pin out. and it'll automatically put tension on the belt. Okay, let's move on. Okay, as you can see, everything is coming out great. Got the sprocket installed, alternator bracket, AC compressor bracket, timing belt tensioner. We're pretty much at a standstill because we don't have the head bolts for this yet. Spend the extra money to get you some head bolts or they will start loosening up and come back out. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean off the surfaces, the mating surfaces of the block and the cylinder head, and we're going to do that tomorrow. Thanks again for stopping by with Astro Auto Repairs, and remember, if we can't repair it, nobody can. Take care.